Hey everyone, welcome to a new video, welcome to my channel. My name is Maaike and today I'm doing a, well, I think super fun video. This was not my idea. One of you guys gave me this idea, so Esther, thank you very much for asking me if I could do this. And she asked, since I love cool toned eyeshadows so much, and I keep saying that so many cool toned eyeshadow palettes are bland and boring, what would I do if I were to make my perfect cool toned eyeshadow palette? And I figured, genius, brilliant idea. So I thought I could do that for you today. So I have concepted using all of the eyeshadows that are currently available to me in my collection, what that color story would look like, what that palette would look like. And then I will just chat to you about that. So let's get started with the packaging and what the packaging would look like. I decided that, like, I'm not someone who loves super large palettes, so I like sizes like this. This is the Noblesse Secret palette. This is not one that's going to be featured as one of the shades, as having shades that I would want to put in there. But I do really like the layout of this palette. So I really like these square pans, and then you get 15 shades. That to me would just work really well. So packaging wise, this is how big it would be. This is how many shades we would get. This is the kind of layout I would go for. So something not too big, still pretty nice and curated. And my aim with this palette was to also show you that cool tones don't have to be boring. I don't just want it to be cool tone neutrals. I definitely also want to include color. So first shade that I would pick is something that could go either as like a sparkly topper on the lid, in the inner corner, on the lower lash line, maybe even if you do a very basic eye that you can just do a bit of sparkly liner. And the first shade I thought of is a single. It's in this large Cliona palette. And it's this single right here in the middle, this super bright number. And this is Looksees Star Boy. And Star Boy is a very interesting shade because it's a multi-chrome, essentially. It's not a silver, it's not quite a gold. It has like a bluish green sparkle running through it. It's just one of those shades that can do a lot, and it's a little bit on the sheer side. You can build it up to full opacity if you'd like to, but if you just apply a thin layer, it can be more used like a topper if you'd like to. So let me swatch that for you. So that's what Looksees Star Boy looks like. So there you have Looksees Star Boy. That would be the first shade in this palette. Secondly, I want to make sure that I have a couple of basic mattes in here. The divide I went for is 7 mattes and 8 shimmers, because I just love shimmer. So with 15 shades, uneven number, I thought we could go with roughly an equal split, but not quite. So the other one that I would want to feature is a shade from my Too Faced White Chocolate Bar, and it would be this shade right here, which is called Chocolate Syrup, which I think is a really nice light, like transition shade. It's more like a cool tone brown. So that's what I would put in there as well. I would definitely put that shade in as like a good basic like transition shade. But then I would also want to put in something that wasn't very brown. I know I need a matte mauve to go into this palette. I just do. So I want to go in with this 4th shade from the Dose of Colors Marvellous Mauves, and this would be Spaced Out, I'm sure. And that is, again, a very nice creamy shade. It perhaps looks a bit dark, but again, in terms of like a crease shade, that's what I think could work on a lot of different people. And it's definitely deeper than Chocolate Syrup. So Chocolate Syrup could be more for like, if you want to go super basic and neutral, and then this one could be for a more vampy look if you'd like to. And then you have that gorgeous shimmer that will just go with everything that's going on in this palette. Then next up, I definitely want to put in like a rosy shade. And I know my favorite rosy tone palette is the Naked 3 by Urban Decay, so that had to be in here. And in here you get a shade called Mugshot. And Mugshot is like a rosy taupe. And you know how I feel about taupes, so Mugshot would be one that I would put in here. So if we swatch that, next to it, we get our first more like mid-tone shimmer. Like Mugshot is a shade that I love to use all over the lid. And just that shade, nothing else. This can work in the crease. It's like the one shadow look. And I like when a palette has that sort of like one shadow option, because this way you do get a bunch of neutrals that can sort of, you know, play off very nicely. But then of course, we also need to have a bit of a lighter shimmer. And I think one of the best shimmers to have come out in recent years that is more cool toned is from the Sultry palette by Anastasia, and that would be, I know you're gonna guess this right, Cyborg. And I actually swatched it next to everything just now, and when you put this next to like pinky tones, it pulls more pink. If you put it more next to brown tones, it looks a bit more silvery taupe. So Cyborg had to go in here. That is what Cyborg looks like. Such a stunning shade. And there you have Cyborg. But then of course, I already mentioned loving taupes. You know we needed a matte taupe, right? A matte taupe. The best matte taupe I have ever tried is by Inglot. So this is the shade by itself. This is their matte eyeshadow in 360. And this is a stunning matte taupe. I haven't tried any taupes ever in my life that are matte. They're this good. Look at that. So, so stunning. It will go really well with Mugshot. It will go with Cyborg. It will be great for deepening up that chocolate syrup shade from Too Faced. And of course, one of my favorite cool tone neutral palettes, the Naked 2 by Decay, had to make an appearance here. And we're gonna put in Suspect. And Suspect is a taupe that is a little bit more warm leaning, I would say. Well, not warm leaning. It's more towards, like, taupes can be either very gray or they can be very brown. And this is just one of those taupes that leans a bit more brown, but it's still quite light. So I would say that especially next to this, it looks quite golden toned. If you top that Looxi shade over Suspect, magic will happen, I guarantee it. But this is quite a light taupe, so I wanted to make sure we also had a darker taupe shimmer, and I instantly had to think of this. This is the Venus Immortalis by Lime Crime, and in here we get this gorgeous taupe here called Echo. And Echo, really stunning. Look at that. This is one of the best taupes in my entire collection, and as you can see, this is the kind of taupe that pulls more gray tones. So this way you have both sides of the taupe spectrum, I feel, in one palette. And then to finish off the neutral section, I would like to give you a deep dark brown. And one of my favorite dark browns is in the Just Peachy Mattes by Too Faced. And it's the darkest shade in the palette called Chocolate Dipped, which is a really nice, intense, like, it almost has like a plummy sort of undertone, which is why it's gonna go with a lot that's going on in this palette. So, as you will see in a minute. So there you have it, a really nice, very intense cool tone brown. Will make for a stunning, stunning liner. I knew I didn't just want to go in with neutrals. I think that this is the neutral spectrum that you would need, in my opinion. But I would like to include some color as well. And one of my favorite colors to wear is teal. And I think the combination of teals and taupes, but also with some of those rosy shades, will be really stunning. And one of my favorite teals is actually in this palette. This is the Dark Magic by Morphe and Jaclyn Hill. And in here we get the shade Busted. Busted is stunning. So smooth, so buttery. There you have it. It's really, really stunning. So that would be one of my color picks. So, and as you can see, like Suspect and Echo with that taupe, and then deepening it up with chocolate, with the Chocolate Dipped, I think it was called, from Too Faced. That would be stunning. But then I also wanted to have a really nice, like, blue tone shimmer, and I completely fell in love with the blue shimmer that you get in the Muerte palette by Melt Cosmetics. The Muerte palette by Melt has a blue shimmer called Katrina, which is this shade right here. And it's a bit thick, which melt shimmers can be, but this all over the lid, I guarantee you it's stunning. And it's a navy, so, but it's like it has such a gorgeous undertone, again, with that teal in the crease. But I would want to give you a little bit more depth and definition in this as well. So I would want to put in a dark navy matte from the Blue Blood by Jeffree Star. In here, the darkest shade is called Undertaker, and that's this matte here. In a lot of pictures it looks black, but it's actually a really deep matte, just really stunning navy shade. It's the best navy in my entire collection. One of the very few reasons that even if I were to ever consider decluttering that palette, I would just keep it around for this shade. So let me swatch it next to it. So that way, you could go for a navy smoky eye, which when it comes to smoky eyes, ladies and gentlemen, navy is my favorite combination. Forget about grays, forget about blacks. If you haven't tried a blue toned smoky eye, and I'm giving it to you right here. But I also wanted to include some fun, just some fun pops of color that could go with this. And my favorite pop of color is purple. So I wanted to give you some purples to play around with the rest of this color story as well. And one of the best purples I own, or some of the best purples I own, are in my singles palette. So I built this blue, green, purple palette last year. And in this palette are a lot of shades by Sydney Grace. Sydney Grace is a stunning indie brand. This shade right here is called Fierce, and it's a blurple. It is a blue purple. And I thought, since we're putting blues in here, but maybe you want something brighter that is not a neutral to go with the blues. So I figured we could go with the purple, because that could go with the navy. It could go with the navy shimmer. It could go with the taupes. It could go with some of those like rosy mauvey tones that are in here too. Because I really like, if I can play around with textures, I wanted to put in this shade by Nabla. This is called Selfish, and this is one of those shades that is more like a topper kind of shade, but still can be built up to more intense looks if you put it over other things. So this again, combined with like some of these shades in here, like it has a very sort of like steely undertone to it. So do you see how that could potentially go with like the navies, like those navies, and then that in the inner corner will be stunning. But it can also, because it has this like purpley, pinky sort of shift to it. So I think that that could also be a very interesting shimmer to go with some of those neutrals. And then to round off the palette, because I also want you to be able to do an all purple look, I thought we could go in with a matte purple. And for this, I've decided to go with a ColourPop shade called Sleeper. And this is also in the It's My Pleasure. And it's a bit more warm tone, so it doesn't really go. But actually, I would want to have a matte like this one, Crown Jewel. But this is a satin, so I've swatched those side by side on the back of my hand just to try them. So I would want something with the undertone of Crown Jewel, but then a matte. We're going to go with Sleeper because I wanted to give you another matte. But if I were to create a palette, I'm sure I would have to create some shades as well. So I would definitely create Crown Jewel by ColourPop into a single matte shade. So I would definitely go in with something like Sleeper, because I think, again, if you put these like mauves, you want to create some more depth with this. I think something like this might work really, really well. Plus it can still go with these purples. So it's a bit more warm toned, but I think that in terms of like giving you more versatility, I think it will work really well. So yeah, that would be what my perfect cool tone palette would look like. Right, so I zoomed you in so that hopefully you can see a little bit better. So here you can see that Looxi shade a little bit better. I hope, yeah, see, that's what it looks like when it really catches the light. It almost has this like greenish blue flash to it. And I think that can really work as a nice topper for a lot of these like darker, funner shades that are in here. And I just really like how this palette, yeah, it does give you like half neutral, half color, which was intentional because I think that can really bring it to the forefront. There isn't like a boring black in here, which is in every single palette. Instead, the deepest shade that I would put in is this really nice dark navy, which I think, for instance, if you put the taupe all over the lid and then the navy as a liner, could really work really well. Teal and taupe are two of my favorite shades also to combine them, because they are these in-betweeny kind of shades. Depending on what you pair them with will make them pull a bit more warm toned or more cool toned. So for instance, if you were to put Suspect with the teal from the Jaclyn Hill palette, it becomes a bit more warm toned. But if you were to put that cool toned Echo shade from Lime Crime next to it, then it starts pulling just a bit more differently. So I just really wanted to give you options. That's what it was about for me. Still cool toned, a little bit of neutral, a little bit of fun, but still, I think I would want to change the purple for like more of like a plum. But like I said, I don't have a dark matte plum in my entire collection that has this kind of depth to it. So I still feel that this kind of works, especially with some of the shades over here, but not quite. I don't think it will go really well with these purples. So I would want this to be more cool toned. What do you think? Would you buy something like this? I'm not sure. I would buy this, because these are all my favorite shades. We've got the rosy tones, we've got the taupes, we've got teals, navy blues, and purples. And I'm a happy bunny. That would be, for me, like my dream cool tone palette would be this. Just is. Thank you very much for watching this video. Please give it a thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe to my channel if you'd like to see more by me. I make 3 new videos a week on Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. So I hope to see you in my next video. Bye!